This year, over 300,000 people are expected to flock to the seaside for the 44th Brighton Festival. The festival is at the cutting edge of creative arts in Britain, and this year's guest director is the highly respected artist, record producer, and former keyboard player of Roxy Music, Brian Eno.
Brian brings a coherence to the whole programme. It's experimental, it's new work, it's edgy, and it's exciting most of all. And I think audiences come for the sort of work at Brighton Festival which will challenge them, but also really make them feel that they've experienced something that they won't get anywhere else.
Included in the lineup is an exclusive live performance of Eno's seminal ambient album Apollo, and a world premiere from one of Britain's most sought-after choreographers, Hofesh Shechter, whose company has been in residence at the Brighton Dome since 2008.
You start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Born in Jerusalem, Hofesh moved to London in 2002 and began work as a musician and dancer before striking out on his own. In 2007, his career went into overdrive with the critically acclaimed Uprising and In Your Rooms.
I didn't plan to be a choreographer or anything really. I think the world of creation generally always attracted me. Making up worlds, things, stories, music, movements.
Hofesh really likes movement. I mean, that's his thing. It's very raw, it's very kind of high energy. It's I mean, he won't agree with this, but it's quite masculine and almost animal-like, you know, almost like monkeys and other creatures the dancers become. And so I have to remember where he comes from, which is his Israeli background. You know, that's the tradition there. It is very physical, but it's done in a way which it feels very contemporary. It feels very now. It's speaking to this generation.
Hofesh Schechter's meteoric rise saw him fast-tracked from the 300-seat Place to the 1,500-seat Sadler's Wells, all within 6 months. The double bill of In Your Rooms and Uprising then went on to play the even larger Roundhouse in North London, where his unique and edgy style brought down the house.
This was really like a rock event. You know, the Roundhouse was absolutely packed full of people standing, and people were like shouting and screaming. A contemporary dance event, and I think it showed that Hofesh has an appeal which will go wider than the normal sort of contemporary dance coterie. It has the same energy as what's happening, say, in the music industry, and I think that makes him stand out quite remarkably.
Hofesh now faces his biggest challenge. Expectations are high for his first full-length work, Political Mother, which will see its world premiere at this year's Brighton Festival before embarking on a global tour.
It's a really big thing to work on it. I'm working on it now for nearly half a year, not all the time in the studio, but working on the music. I had sort of like a basic idea. The first idea was to have one loop of drums that is going to go from the beginning all the way to the end. Don't worry, it just didn't work. But that was the idea, and I was trying to work on that loop of drums that will be able to, you know, to allow anything to happen on stage.
With just 6 weeks until opening night, Hofesh granted our cameras access to rehearsals, providing a rare insight into the creative process and his unique style.
It's important that even though there is the wobble doesn't become endless. But it's connected to the strings that are pulling to that line. And be careful to keep. It's like this part is more like a train, and this part is dancing on top of it. It's quite a chaotic process. It's nothing I can really create a system for how I make the work, but it's a sort of like a chaotic space where you just throw everything you've got that you feel is connected to the idea, to the feeling, and we just try again and again until I feel something, actually, until I feel something, and until they feel something, until we feel that something really happens. Okay, good. That's how we work. We are on stage, and I'm on stage with them, and take off my shoes. and we dance.
Political Mother is a follow-up to The Art of Not Looking Back, which showcased at the Brighton Festival in 2009. Whereas the latter dealt with despair and the pain of separation, his latest work will deal with a different emotion.
There is a general sense of neediness inside the piece, a need to satisfy, a need to serve, to be loved and to be accepted. And the confusion between, say, the king character and the fool character, or the performer character and the miserable character. So the confusion of all these needs that are, in the end exist in one person, created quite a quirky, interesting movement material for that very specific part.
It's a very full experience, emotionally speaking. We go through a lot of different characters, and with that comes very different emotional states that we have to bring ourselves to, and sometimes the movement itself will create that for us. That's what makes it even more tiring, is that as active as our bodies are, our mind is equally as active. And we're constantly counting and remembering patterns and shapes, and the movement itself is very technical and difficult, and it's quite intense.
Political Mother is billed as a Chinese puzzle of emotional complexity and gritty energy, and Hofesh expects it to be challenging for the audience.
I prefer the audience to leave the auditorium riddled, so they they keep on dealing with these feelings, they keep on asking themselves some questions about neediness, about where they are inside that chaos, where they are inside this confusion, rather than telling them, that's the answer. That's because I don't have answer. I'm sitting exactly where my audience is. I'm sitting and watching the world. Okay.
It's one of the great things about dance is that when that curtain goes up in dance, you really don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you have an idea what it's going to look like with Hofesh's work. You have a general feeling, but nobody really knows. And we'll find out at the premiere in Brighton.
Yeah, man. Cool.